Greetings. This is Logue Elder, and this is another installment of Let's Talk Consciousness. It is now, I think, 4 or 5 weeks since the last one I've done because life gets in the way. I have two small kids, and yeah, that'll happen. But I do think it's important to not be discouraged by losing your momentum creatively, so that's why I think it's really important to come back to this and not really lose any gusto. But the overall thing I had been doing with this, as I've said at the beginning of almost every video, but I'll just reiterate quickly, is basically a discussion about consciousness and the assumption that the world is actually a manifestation of consciousness, and that your quality of consciousness, your outlook, your ability to forgive yourself and others, to let go of baggage, that these are all related to the quality of your experience. And even if you don't go in for the world is made of consciousness thing, you could at least look at it as though your mind can benefit from being improved in so many ways, trying to clear out the baggage. And so to me, the baggage in this case is holding on to resentment for people, particularly people close to you, but even people at a great distance. You could think of any number of examples. In fact, I'll be brief in this video, but that actually really gets to the point of what I wanted to come back with. From one perspective, this is going to sound like I'm slapping myself on the back. I'm trying not to portray it that way, but it was an experience, and I think it's worth sharing and worth thinking about. And that is, I've been doing these videos for a couple of weeks. I've had this intention for a long time. Before these videos, I did recordings of audio. And as I've said, the whole point is to look at forgiving yourself and others as a kind of intention or direction, through everything you do. Kind of, as I keep saying, true north on the compass is unconditional love. And maybe from others' perspective, maybe a kind of radical unconditional love, because it extends to, even the worst among us. That's the point I'm trying to make with a lot of this. So, my example of running into this in real life is that where I work, we have a weekly meeting to play a game, to basically get our head out of our cubicles and the job, to interact with one another. It actually does help a lot. So one of the things we did, just to kind of deviate from like a game of bingo or Pictionary or whatever it would be, is just to ask a question around the room. And the question was, it was really innocuous, like what you had for dinner and stuff like that, but it just got people talking about themselves. But one of the questions was, which celebrity or public figure annoys you? And so I was just kind of positioned on the opposite side of the room as they're going through, and everybody gives their example, the Kardashians or Donald Trump or whoever it is, it doesn't matter. And I was just kind of sitting there thinking, I was like, should I try to come up with somebody? Because my knee-jerk reaction is to look at that question and go, maybe you should question that premise, like that, celebrities annoy you. Like, why do celebrities annoy you? And it's not that I've not felt that, but it's just that it has occurred to me to let that go. And so, I would, in my own case, hold on. In my own experience, I'd come home from work and the TV would just be on a channel, and my wife would be, busy with the kids, and it might, at a certain time of day, around the time I'm coming home, I think Keeping Up with the Kardashians would come on, or something like it. And, I would be irritated by, I don't want that in my head. I just would kind of want to change the channel or just ignore it, and it would annoy me. It would distract me. Honestly, keeping up conversations, it's hard to tune that out. But at a certain point, I was like, what are these people setting out to do with their lives? From a kind of metaphysical, spiritual point of view, if we're all incarnating to take on certain lessons, what lessons are they taking on? And to maybe step back from the judgment of their superficiality, their materialism, whatever you want to call it, and just go, well, if you get to choose your life, and one lifetime, one go around, you choose to be really rich, that has its own lessons in it. So from a kind of spiritual perspective, I try to let them off the hook a little bit and just look at what they're doing and try to understand it without judging it. So I tried to share that when it got to me at this go around the room, as to what celebrities annoy me. And I said that I'm really tempted just kind of to reject the premise altogether, and to try to excise that out of myself when I do feel annoyed, or to at least observe it and try to understand it when I'm annoyed by a celebrity, and to try not to hold on to that, to make it a real intention to let that go. And that is really difficult when it's like politics, because that draws you into this feeling that what they're doing, these public political figures, has a direct effect on you or people you care about, or that injustice is taking place. That's very hard to let go, and it's a lot easier to let go of, like, what something Kanye West said, or whoever. Um, but I think it is kind of still on the same spectrum, and all a pretty good exercise in unconditional love and letting go. So anyway, so I said this. It did. I could feel it kind of reverberate around the room as I'm saying this, because it has a little bit of a built-in sense of judgment. Like when I say that I don't want to find any celebrities annoying and would rather just kind of love them unconditionally and see what they're going through as, a valid experience. As I share that in other words, I don't remember exactly how I said it. I can sense people being like, there's a little bit of sarcastic clapping from some people who I know a little bit better, who I know they're joking, but they're also kind of not. They're also expressing a thought that's real, which is like, I'm kind of making the rest of them look petty by comparison, because I don't want to engage in that kind of indulgence, with this sense of being annoyed, or judging, really, is the thing. So, I kind of laughed with it, and the people who kind of sarcastically applauded, there was some sincerity in that too. Like, I got a chance to talk to them, and there was this sense of like, that was kind of impressive. And at the same time, it's like, I know that I sound like a douche sometimes if I'm saying, love everybody unconditionally, even Donald Trump or Kim Kardashian or whoever. But I mean, fly your freak flag if you're gonna, subscribe to those ideas. Have the boldness to say it, because you'll be in so many situations where, as you think about these things on a more regular basis, seeing it in other people where they're being very judgmental will, have a certain kind of clang to it. Like, it'll stand out as being a little off. And not aggressively, not judgmentally, but if you can share your point of view, that you have let go of those judgments, or you're trying to let go of those judgments, it's worth sharing. I think you'll find that some people really resonate with it. Some people might be annoyed, but that's okay. Don't let that cause you to wilt and not be yourself. So that being said, I love you all, even the dirty motherfuckers who wish us ill, us, me, whoever, good people. That's exactly the kind of thinking I don't want to get into, thinking there's good people and bad people. But as I'm trying to say, somebody you might think of as being on the negative end of the pole, a real bastard, um, try to find it in yourself to let it go. You'll be lighter for it, and smoke lots of weed. It helps. Enjoy your now.